Hello and welcome back to the WholeHearted Living Podcast with your host Debs Thorpe, and it is so great to have you here. This is episode 10 of series 2, and today we're going to be diving into what it is to choose yourself. And so I want to start this episode by telling you a story. A few months ago, I went to go and view a property with a friend that is in the next village up to where we're currently living in Italy. We were looking at the place for her to potentially buy, but the moment that I walked in, there was just a feeling about it, like a knowing that I could actually see myself living there. Now, we'd went and viewed loads of properties since then, but none of them ever felt right. They didn't have that same sense in my body. There was something about this particular house that just never left my thoughts. So after a few months, I arranged another viewing, this time with David, my husband, and a friend. And honestly, they were blown away by the property. Within a couple of weeks, we'd put down the deposit and signed the initial contract. And without going into the full ins and outs of it here, it's not just any property. Okay, it's fully functional, it's ready to move into. The family are leaving all of their furniture there. It's being sold by the most beautiful family. And it also includes a rustico, which is a building that's ready to be restored, and also some land, which honestly is an answer to a dream that both myself and David have had for years. I can feel the vision of our expansion there. I can see it so clearly. And then I told my parents. And what I got back was critique, caution, questions. Are you sure about this? This is a lot to take on. Owning a house in a different country, that's a lot of pressure. And I get it. I really do get it. It comes from love and protection. They want to make sure I'm okay. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting a little bit. For a moment, it knocked the wind out of my sails. It made me question, am I being a bit reckless? Should I be more cautious? Should I scale back? Should I just be happy with what I've got? But then I came back to my knowing. I came back to the feeling that I had when I walked into that house. I came back to the vision that I can see so clearly, not just for myself and David, but for our whole family and all of the community and all of the events and everything that can happen in that space. And I chose myself and I chose the vision, even when the people I love most didn't see it yet. So today we are talking about what it is to choose yourself, not as some abstract, in theory, this sounds nice, in practice, but in actual lived experience. What it is to stand alone in your vision when others around you might not understand it. And if you're a leader, a business owner, a parent, a visionary, if you have people depending on you, if you've built something, if you have responsibilities, then this episode is for you. Because here's what I've learned after 20 years of working with really driven people and high achievers and visionaries. The hardest part of choosing yourself isn't the small daily decisions. It's choosing yourself when it risks changing everything. It's choosing your true self, your real vision, your wholeness, when others around you might not understand it, when they might resist it, when they've benefited from you staying exactly where you are. You're standing on a hard edge. On one side is the life you've built, the success, the security, the identity, the people who depend on you staying exactly where you are. On the other side is your wholeness, your true self, your real vision, your authentic path. You can feel it and you have to choose. This episode is about that choice, about what it means to stand alone in your vision, about how to choose yourself when the stakes are high and the cost feels enormous. Because everything that I'm sharing with you today isn't just theory, right? And we don't just live this once, but many times over. I'm standing on that edge right now with this house in the next village, with the expansion I can see so clearly. And I'm having to come back to my own center and choosing myself. And I'm inviting you to do the same. And first off, we're going to dive into dismantling one of the biggest myths around this. So let's get started. Let's start by dismantling a myth that most of us have been carrying our entire lives. The myth that putting yourself last makes you a good person. Think for a minute about all the messages you've received growing up. Don't be selfish. Think of others first. Good people sacrifice for others. Your needs aren't as important. And if you're a leader, if you've built something, if you have people depending on you, you probably got some extra doses of this. A good leader puts their team first. You're responsible for everyone who depends on you. You can't just think about yourself. What about everyone else? And so you learned, my needs don't matter as much as everyone else's. My vision doesn't matter as much as their security. My wholeness doesn't matter as much as their comfort. You learn to put yourself last, to prioritize everyone else's needs, feelings, and expectations over your own truth. And maybe it worked for a while. It certainly did for me in my previous life and business. You built something, you created success, you became the person everyone could rely on. But then something happened. You started to feel restless, disconnected, like you were living someone else's life. You started to have a vision, a pull towards something different, something more aligned, something more true to who you are now. But you looked around at everything you'd built, at the people depending on you, at the expectations everyone had, and you suddenly felt trapped. Because choosing yourself, choosing your true vision, your wholeness, your authentic path, it would disrupt everything. Maybe it would disappoint people. Maybe it would create uncertainty. Maybe it would risk the security you've worked so hard to build. And so you stayed. You kept playing the role. You kept being the person everyone needed you to be, even though it was killing you. This is certainly true for me. I have always been quite a risk taker. I have a strong intuitive knowing, and that has been my guidance system for some of the most incredible moments of my life. When I was younger, before I had a family depending on me, I would follow that no matter what, no matter the cost. I moved to new places, I left relationships, whatever it needed, I followed it, no question. But something changed when I started to run my first business. Suddenly I had a team and I had employees relying on me. I had a family that I was providing for. Suddenly there was a whole system around me that was relying on me. And so whilst there were so many nudges before my burnout that prompted me to change and wanted me to change, I stayed in the situation that ensured everyone else's safety. Now, I did so much work on this in the 2 years following my burnout, and I can't tell you what the right answer is. All I know is that there's a cost of staying where you are. And from that place, when you're feeling trapped, it can feel like it's only ever going to be big, bold decisions that are going to change it. And maybe it is, but I promise you, there's so much more you can do from within the system without collapsing it. Here's what happens when you stay in a life that's no longer aligned because you don't want to disrupt everyone else. First off, you lose yourself. You become so focused on maintaining what you've built, on being who everyone needs you to be, that you actually forget who you are. You forget what you want, what you need, and what you're truly called to create. And that will always, always, always create far more than your current system. Okay? Even though it won't feel like it at the time. Secondly, you start to become resentful. You begin to resent the people who depend on you. You start to resent the life you've built. You start to resent yourself for not having the courage to change. I spent a good couple of years in resentment before the burnout, which is the third stage. You cannot sustain a life that's out of alignment. Eventually, your body forces you to stop. There'll be a burnout, a breakdown, and illness. Fourthly, you model self-abandonment. So if you have children, if you lead a team, if you're in any kind of leadership role, you're modeling what it means to be a person. And when you abandon your truth to keep others comfortable, you're teaching them to abandon their truth too. And fifthly, you create a life built on a foundation that's not true. And eventually that foundation cracks because you cannot build a sustainable life on self-abandonment. Staying when you know you need to go doesn't make you noble. It makes you unavailable to yourself and ultimately to everyone else, and ultimately to the greater gift that you are due to have in the world. Here's the truth that no one tells you. You cannot truly serve others from a place of self-abandonment. You cannot lead authentically when you're not living authentically. You cannot create something meaningful when you're disconnected from your truth. You cannot hold space for others' growth when you're not honouring your own. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It's how you stay aligned with what's true. And here's what else is true. The people and structures that are meant to be in your life will evolve with you. The ones that aren't will fall away. And I get that's terrifying because you don't know what's on the other side. But here's what I know after doing 20 years of this work. After burning out in my own business, after choosing to walk away from what I'd built to honour my truth, choosing yourself always creates more. But you have to be willing to stand on the edge first. So let me tell you what it's like to stand on the hard edge. You've built something. Maybe it's a business, maybe it's a career, maybe it's a life that looks perfect from the outside. You know, it's all you'd ever dreamed that you wanted. You have people depending on you, employees, clients, family, a community. You have security, income, identity, a role that everyone recognizes. And you know, deep in your bones, it's time to change. Maybe you need to pivot your business in a direction that feels more aligned, but it might mean letting go of some clients or team members. Maybe you need to step back from a role that's draining you, but your family depends on your income. Maybe you need to completely reinvent yourself, but everyone knows you as this version, and they're not going to understand. Why rock the boat? You're standing on a hard edge. On one side is everything you've built, the security, the identity, the expectations. On the other side is your wholeness, your truth, your real vision, and you have to choose. Here's what makes this so hard. You're not just choosing for yourself. You're choosing for everyone who depends on you, and the fear is real. What if I choose myself and everything falls apart? What if I can't provide for my family? What if my team loses their jobs? What if people think I'm selfish? What if I'm wrong? What if I regret this? These are not small fears. These are legitimate concerns. And here's what I want you to understand. The fear doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. The fear means that this matters. You're not afraid because you're weak. You're afraid because you're about to choose truth over comfort, alignment over security, your real self over the version everyone else needs. And that's terrifying. It's also necessary. But here's what I want you to consider. What is the cost of not choosing yourself? What happens if you stay in the business that's draining you? If you keep playing the role that's no longer true? You burn out. You become resentful. You model self-abandonment. You build a life on a foundation that's not sustainable. And eventually it collapses anyway. But when it collapses, because you didn't choose, you have no agency. You're then a victim of your circumstance. When you choose, before it gets to that point, you have agency. You're the author of your life. The question isn't, will there be disruption? The question is, do I want to choose the disruption, or do I want the disruption to choose me? Here's what I know after walking this edge myself, not just once, but many, many times over. When you choose yourself, your true self, your real vision, your wholeness, things do change. Maybe some people won't understand. Some people will be disappointed. Maybe some structures will fall away, and that's okay. Because the people and structures that are meant to be in your life will evolve with you. New ones will come in. Your real team will rise to the challenge. Your real clients will follow you into the new vision. Your real family will support you in becoming who you're meant to be. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to be part of this next chapter. Choosing yourself doesn't destroy what's meant to stay. It reveals what's meant to go. Now, let's talk about what it actually means to stand alone in your vision, because this is where it gets really hard. Standing alone means you see something that others don't see yet. You see the next version of yourself, the next iteration of your business, the next chapter of your life, and it's so clear to you. It's so true. It's so aligned. You can feel it. You can see it. You can vision it, but no one else sees it yet. Your team doesn't see it yet. Your family doesn't see it yet. Your community doesn't see it yet. They see what is currently. You see what could be. And you have to choose to move towards what could be, even when everyone else wants you to stay with what is. Because here's why others don't understand your vision, right? Firstly, they might benefit from you staying where you are. You know, your employees might benefit from the stability of the current business model. Your family benefits from the predictable income. Your community benefits from playing the role they know. They're not bad people. They're just invested in the current structure. As human beings, we're wired towards the familiar. That's what feels safe. So when you talk about changing it, they hear, you're going to disrupt my security. And so they resist, they question, they try to talk you out of it. Not because your vision is wrong or because they don't care or they're not supportive. It's because it threatens their comfort and their familiarity. They also can't see what you can see. You've been living with this vision. You can feel the pull. You've been doing the inner work. They haven't. They're still operating from that old paradigm. You can't expect them to understand something they haven't experienced yet. When I walked into that house in the village, I felt something. I saw something. I knew it. David and my friend felt it too when they came with me. They got it. But my parents, they didn't walk through that house. They didn't feel what I felt. They didn't see what I saw. And I can't expect them to understand a vision they haven't experienced. Also, they're afraid for you. They love you. They don't want you to fail. They don't want you to struggle. So when you talk about leaving security for alignment, they hear you're taking a huge risk, and they try to protect you by talking you out of it. But protection isn't always what you need, right? Sometimes you need permission to leap. Here's the thing about being a visionary. It's lonely. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You see something that others don't see yet. You're moving towards something that doesn't exist yet, and you have to walk that path alone first. Your team will follow, but you have to lead. Your family will support, but you have to be certain. Your community will celebrate, but you have to take the first step. You have to be willing to stand alone in your vision before anyone else can join you, and that's hard. Because as humans, we're wired for belonging. We're wired to stay with the tribe. But visionaries don't stay with the tribe. They forge new paths, and then the tribe follows. When I'm standing on that hard edge, when the people I love are expressing concern, when I'm questioning whether I'm being selfish or crazy or all these other things that are going through my mind, there's a mantra that I come back to. Someone once told me, what is best for me is best for everyone else. Not in a narcissistic way, not in a my needs are more important than yours way, but in an aligned way. When I'm connected to my true self, to my higher self, to what's genuinely aligned for me, that is part of the greater good, even if we don't see it yet, even if it doesn't appear that way initially. When you choose from alignment, you create ripples that benefit everyone. Let me give you an example. When I chose to move to Italy, not everyone understood. It was a big risk. It caused a lot of disruption and created uncertainty. But look at what that choice has created. It's opened up possibilities for our family that wouldn't have existed otherwise. It's led to so many priceless moments and memories, experiences we couldn't have had if I'd have stayed where I was comfortable, albeit not fulfilled. It's provided space for the people we love to experience a place that fills their hearts, to see a different way of living, to expand their own sense of what's possible. Choosing myself, choosing to move to Italy, didn't just benefit me. It benefited everyone. But I couldn't have known that when I was standing on the edge. I couldn't have predicted all the ways that choice would ripple out and create more for everyone around me. I just had to trust. What is best for me is best for everyone else. This is where your own trust comes in. I trust that my higher self, my true self, is connected to the greater good. And so whenever I feel like that's threatening my survival, because I can't accurately predict where the income's going to come from or where the security is going to come from, I put my trust in it does not benefit anybody, myself, my family, the wider community, if I'm back in survival mode. I trust that whatever it is within me, whatever that vision is that's wanting to guide me to the next step, I trust that along with that vision comes all of the pieces that enable me to bring that into fruition. So that doesn't mean put me back into survival mode, right? That means that for that vision to fully emerge and to fully happen, I will be adequately resourced as I walk that path. No, we don't know every single step on the journey before we make the step, but we will know the next steps as the path reveals itself. You know, the same is true with this house in this next village. I can see the vision. I can see the retreats and experiences we'll host. I can see the expansion. I can see the space we'll create for transformation, not just for clients, but for our family, our friends, our community. But I have to choose it first. I have to honor it before anyone else can see it. And when my parents expressed their concerns, when that knocked the wind out of my sails, I had to come back to this truth. What is best for me is best for everyone else. Not because I'm more important, but because when I'm aligned, when I'm connected to my wholeness, when I'm choosing from my true self, I create more for everyone. That's not selfish. That's how alignment works. So how do you actually do it? How do you stand alone in your vision when everyone else wants you to stay? Firstly, get clear on what's true for you. Not what you think you should do, not what would make everyone else comfortable. What is true for you? What is your body telling you? What's your intuition saying? What's your wise self knowing? When I walked into that house, my body said yes. My intuition said yes. My wise self said yes. And when my parents expressed their concerns, I had to come back to that inner knowing. Get so clear on your truth that no one else's opinion can shake you. Secondly, trust the mantra. What is best for me is best for everyone else. When you're connected to your true self, to your higher self, to what is genuinely aligned, you are connected to the greater good. Your alignment benefits everyone, even if they can't see it yet. Even if it doesn't appear that way initially, trust that when you choose from wholeness, you create ripples that serve everyone. Thirdly, stop trying to make everyone understand. You don't need everyone to understand. You don't need everyone to agree. You just need to honor your truth. The people who are meant to understand will understand, and the people who aren't, they won't, and that's okay. My parents might not understand this house purchase right now, but they will when they see what we create there. When they see the vision come to life, when they experience the space we've created. I don't need them to understand now. I just need to honor my knowing. Fourthly, find your people. There's also nothing wrong with this, right? You might be standing alone in your immediate circle, but you're not alone in the world. Find the people who get it, the other visionaries, the other truth tellers, the other people who've walked this edge. When I told David and my friends about the house, they were blown away. They saw it, they felt it, they got it. Those are my cheerleaders. Those are the people who can hold the vision with me until others catch up. It's really helpful to have witnesses, to have mirrors, to have people who can see what you can see. Because when the people closest to you express doubt, it's really nice to have someone who can also say, yes, I see it too, keep going. Where possible, surround yourself with those who can cheerlead, not because you need it, not because you need the validation, but because standing alone in your vision is hard and it's lonely. And having even one or two people who get it makes all the difference. Fifthly, trust the unfolding. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to know exactly how it's all going to work. You just need to take the next aligned step. When I felt the pull towards that house, I didn't have the whole plan figured out. I don't even have it all figured out now. I didn't exactly know how the expansion, how it would all come together. I just knew it was right and I trusted that. Trust that when you choose yourself, when you honour your truth, the path reveals itself. Not all at once, but step by step. And trust that what is best for you is best for everyone else, even when you can't see all the ways that that will be true yet. Here's a hard truth, right? Sometimes choosing yourself means outgrowing the life you've built. And that is its own grief. Because you worked so hard to build that life. You built the business, you created the success, you've built the career, you established that identity, you've cultivated the relationships. And now you're realizing, this life doesn't fit anymore. Not because it's bad, not because there's any failings, but because you've grown. You've outgrown the container you built. You know, maybe you built a business doing work that was meaningful 5 years ago, but now it feels like you're just going through the motions. Maybe you created a life that gave you security and stability, but now it's feeling a bit like a cage. Maybe you became the person everyone needed you to be, but now you don't recognize yourself. You've outgrown it, and that's okay. Outgrowing isn't failure, it's not weakness. Outgrowing is evolution. But here's what can make it hard. When you outgrow something, you have to let it go. And letting go when you have people depending on you, when you have responsibilities, when you have a reputation to uphold, that feels impossible. And there's a guilt that comes with this. You know, I built this, I can't just walk away. People are depending on me, I can't let them down. I worked so hard for this, I should just be grateful. What will people think if I change everything now? They're going to think I wasn't congruent back then. Maybe I'm just being ungrateful and I should just push through. You know, the guilt and the bargaining, it's real, and it's also a trap. You're not abandoning anyone by choosing yourself. You're freeing everyone, including yourself, from a structure that's no longer aligned. Think about it. When you stay in a business that's draining you, your team feels it. They feel your resentment. They feel your disconnection. They feel that you're just going through the motions. When you stay in a role that's no longer true, your family feels it. They feel your exhaustion, your absence, even when you're physically present. And when you stay in an identity that no longer fits, everyone around you feels the performance. They feel they're not getting the real you. Staying doesn't protect them, it deprives them. It deprives them of a leader who's fully alive. It deprives them of a parent who's fully present. It deprives them of the real you. And it deprives you of your wholeness. So here's what I want to give you today. Permission to outgrow the life you've built. Permission to change your mind. Permission to want to do something different. Permission to evolve beyond what you've created. Permission to let go of what no longer fits. You are not required to stay the same just because people got used to that version of you. You are not required to maintain a business just because it's successful. You are not required to stay in a role just because you're good at it. You're not required to keep being the person everyone expects you to be just because that's who you've always been. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to choose yourself, even when it disrupts, even when people don't understand, even when it feels terrifying. You are allowed. So how do you actually choose yourself when the stakes are high? You know, when you have employees or a team depending on you, when you have a family relying on your income, when you have a reputation to uphold, how do you choose wholeness over that security? Here's what I've learned, not just from theory, right, but living this and guiding many clients through this. Firstly, get brutally honest about what's true. We've touched on this so many times in this series. You cannot choose yourself if you're not honest about what you actually need. So start here. Ask yourself, what is true for me right now? Not what's easiest, not what everyone else wants, not what I think I should. What is actually true? Maybe the truth is this business is draining me, I need to pivot, or I've outgrown this role, I need to try something different, or, you know, I created the version of success that I really loved back then, but I'm craving something different now. For me, that truth was that inner knowing that for whatever reason that I don't know right now, that house is meant to be ours. I can feel the expansion. This is aligned. Name the thing, be honest, even if it's terrifying. Next up, count the real cost. Not just of choosing yourself, but of not choosing yourself. What will it cost you to choose yourself? Maybe some disruption, some uncertainty. Maybe you're going to have to do a bit of inner work to trust your intuition again. But then also make a note of what it will cost you to not choose yourself. Your health, your aliveness, your integrity, your wholeness. For me, not pursuing that property would mean ignoring a clear pull. It would mean playing small. It would mean letting other people's fear dictate my choices. Which cost can you actually afford? You know, most people only count the cost of changing. They don't count the cost of staying. But the cost of staying in a life that's out of alignment is always higher in the long run. Count both of those costs and then choose. And within this, hold the awareness that in order to reconnect to your wholeness and lead from a place of being connected to your true higher self, your wise self, when you are sent those nudges, those intuitive nudges, those kind of gut feelings about something, if you consistently ignore them, that voice, that knowing, that body sensation gets weaker. And so then it becomes harder to know what is true for you, to know what the next aligned step is. I like to think of this as like a relationship with a person. If you keep on ignoring them, not responding to their messages, eventually they kind of like just fade out of your life. And it feels a bit awkward and it feels harder to reestablish a relationship, right? And it's a bit like that with our own internal knowing and our own internal guidance system. If you begin to follow those nudges, no matter how unrelated they seem, it strengthens that relationship. It means that you become a fantastic decision maker. You can make quick decisions. You know, you can feel the aligned actions in your body. And then you build the courage to follow them. And it becomes this incredible relationship within yourself that you build that connection and that relationship with your inner self, your inner knowing, and the aligned actions present themselves to you much clearer. And then you walk the path and then it carries on. The next thing is communicate your vision if you can, right? So you don't have to have it all figured out, but do communicate what's true. So It may be saying to your team, I'm feeling called to evolve the business in a new direction. I haven't got all the answers yet, but I just want to let you know this is what's happening and we're going to figure this out. Or to your family, I need to make some changes. I know this might feel a bit scary, but I can't keep doing this, and I need us to trust that choosing alignment will create more for us. Or to your parents, I understand your concerns. You come from love and I appreciate that, but I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. I can see something that you can't see yet, and I need to honor that. And to yourself, I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing my wholeness. I'm choosing my truth. And I trust that this is the right path. You don't need everyone to understand, but you do need to be honest. They don't need to be in on the whole vision, right? But communicate when and how you can. And then take the next aligned step. You don't have to blow up your whole entire life today. You just have to take the next aligned step. Maybe it's having a conversation. Maybe it's exploring a new direction. Maybe it's setting a boundary. Maybe it's saying no to something that's no longer aligned. Maybe it's saying yes to something that is. For me, it was arranging that second viewing, and then it was putting the deposit down, and then it was signing the contract. Just take the next step, and the next and the next. The path reveals itself to you as you walk it. And when you find that you're standing alone in your vision, make use of some anchors. Find people who believe in you, or find the people who see your vision, who trust your knowing, who can hold space for you when everyone else is questioning. For me, that's David. That's the friend who came to the viewing with us. As well as that might be a coach, a mentor, other visionaries who understand this space. Also use your grounding practices. Especially from last week's episode, use your garden, your meditation, your journaling, your walks, whatever helps you to drop down into your wise self and remember what's true. This is really important. We're coming back to all of the foundational techniques we started at the beginning of this series. If you haven't done it already, make sure you've gone onto our website and downloaded your free Rooted in Wholeness guide, where there's incredible grounding practices that listed there for you. And if you're in this place and you're listening to this, this is not the first time you've made this jump, right? Grab some evidence of your resilience. Remember the other times you've chosen yourself, when you've chosen to take the leap, when you've trusted your inner knowing. I've done this many times before. I've left my business. I've moved to a country without speaking the language. I've left relationships. I've chosen these inner knowings. I've stood on the edge before, and I've done way more than survive. It helps reaffirm to yourself that you can do it again. You're not asking yourself to do something you've not done before. Because when you choose yourself, your real self, your true vision, your wholeness, the universe meets you. Not in ways that you expect, not always on your timeline, but it meets you. The right people show up, the right opportunities appear, the right path reveals itself. But you have to choose first. You have to be willing to stand on the edge, to take the leap, to trust that you'll be caught. And you will be, not because life's magical, but because when you're aligned with your truth, when you're aligned with your power and your wholeness, from that place you can create anything. So let me tell you a little bit about what's on the other side of choosing yourself, because it's important to know, right? We need to have something to hold on to when we're standing on that hard edge. So when you choose yourself, firstly, you come alive. The exhaustion lifts, the resentment dissolves, the disconnection fades. You feel alive again, present, engaged, excited about what you're creating in life. Number two, you attract real people. The people who were only with you for the old version will fall away, and the people who are meant to be with you for this next chapter will show up. The team, the clients, the community, the people who see you, who get you, who are aligned with where you're going. Number three, you create from overflow. When you're aligned, you're not forcing and pushing, you're not depleting yourself. You're creating from a full cup, from inspiration and alignment. And what you create is more powerful more impactful and more sustainable than it ever could have been before. Number 4, you're modeling wholeness. You know, your children see a parent who honors their truth. Your team sees a leader who lives with integrity. Your community sees someone who chose themselves and didn't fall apart. They actually became more. And you give everyone else permission to do the same. Number 5, you feel at home in yourself. Because you're not performing anymore, you're not pretending, you're not abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable. You're comfortable living your truth, honoring your wholeness. You're actually being who you truly are. And that changes everything. You know, I've chosen myself and followed this path for so long. But in my first business, I had built that to be an award-winning, thriving wellbeing business. It was never fully aligned with what I wanted, but it ended up becoming this creation that had its own life, right? I felt like I had to keep the machine going. But inside, I was resentful. I was aware I was trying to mold myself into a version of me that just wasn't me in my fullness. It felt like I was trying to force something. I was in a role that just no longer fit. But I had a team, I had clients, I had a reputation, I had people depending on me. And I had to choose. I had to choose my truth, which was, I can't do this anymore. I have to believe that there is something more aligned waiting for me to choose it. Yes, it was freaking hard. Yes, there was disruption. Not as much as you are thinking before you make the decision, but here's what happened. You know, I came alive. I found my real client work. I created the WholeHearted Technique and the WholeHearted Living Institute. I started working with the people I am truly meant to serve. I moved to Italy. I built a life that's aligned with who I actually am. And the people who were meant to be in my life, they're still here. They've evolved with me. Choosing myself didn't destroy what was meant to stay. It revealed what was meant to go. And on the other side, not only did I find my wholeness, but actually it created so much more for everyone else around me as well. By me not taking up space in a life that and a business that was not fully aligned for me, it opened up that space for everyone else to step into something that was more aligned for them when I vacated it. Does that make sense? That's the bit that we don't know until we've walked the path, right? We can't possibly know. And now I'm on that edge again, right, with this next expansion, with feeling and sensing this vision that's pulling me forward. And of course, some people don't understand it yet. And of course, it's scary. And I don't fully understand it yet. But I'm choosing myself. I'm choosing wholeness because I've walked the path enough to know what's on the other side. So here's what I'm inviting you to take away from this episode. That choosing yourself when you have people depending on you is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It means standing alone in your vision when others don't understand. It means risking the security you've built for the alignment you need. It means outgrowing the life you created and trusting that something better is waiting. And that's terrifying. But here's what's also true. The cost of not choosing yourself is always higher. Staying in a life that's out of alignment will cost you your health, your aliveness, your integrity, your wholeness, and you cannot serve anyone from that place. When you choose yourself, your true self, your real vision, you don't abandon anyone. You free everyone. You free yourself to be fully alive. You free your team to rise to the challenge. You free your family to support the real you. You free your community to witness what's possible. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it's the most generous thing you can do. Because when you're whole, when you're aligned, when you're living your truth, you create more, you give more, not from depletion, but from overflow. And remember the mantra, what is best for me is what's best for everyone else. not in a narcissistic way, in an aligned way. When you're connected to your true self, to your higher self, to what is genuinely aligned for you, that is part of the greater good. Your alignment creates ripples that benefit everyone, even if not everyone can see it yet, even if it doesn't appear that way initially. So if you're standing on that hard edge right now, if you're feeling the pull towards something different, something more aligned, something more true, I want you to know. You're not crazy, you're not selfish, you're not wrong, you're not being ungrateful. You're being called to your wholeness. You're being called to course correct. And that's the most important call you'll ever answer. Stand alone in your vision. Choose yourself. Trust the unfolding. The people who are meant to come with you will come. The people who aren't will fall away. And on the other side, you'll find what you've been searching for all along. Your wholeness, your truth, your real life. And here's what I know from living this. It's worth it. Every single time. The moment of doubt when someone you love expresses concern, it passes. The fear that you're being reckless or unrealistic, it dissolves when you reconnect with your knowing. The loneliness of standing alone in your vision, it transforms when your people show up and say, I see it too. And the life you create on the other side, it's more than you could have ever imagined. Because when you choose from alignment, when you honor your internal pull, when you trust your vision, even when others don't see it yet, you create something real, something sustainable, something whole. You create a life that's actually yours, not the life others expected you to live, not the life that looks good from the outside, not the life that keeps everyone else comfortable, or the life that you thought you should want for the whole of your life. You get to have your vision, your wholeness. I'm standing on that edge with you right now and stepping into choosing what is aligned and what is your vision. It strengthens that inner relationship you have with yourself, and it makes you the most prolific decision maker and creator, which benefits everybody around you. And for as much as we are the only ones who can truly see and hold that vision because it's within us, you don't have to walk this path totally alone. Do surround yourself by other visionaries, other leaders, anyone else that they might be walking a totally different path, right? But they understand the journey and they can be there supporting you, cheerleading you on, being the belief when inevitably in our humanness, we lose it sometimes. And, you know, if this episode is resonating with you, if you're standing on that hard edge right now and you would like some support to choose yourself, to honor your vision, to step into your wholeness, then, you know, there is support here. This is exactly what we do in the recalibration mentorship. Across a whole year, we work together one-to-one to help you get brutally honest about what's true for you. We dismantle the patterns that keep you playing small. We navigate the hard edges of choosing yourself when others don't understand. We're there to support you standing in your vision, to create a life that's aligned with your wholeness, not just what looks good from the outside. This is bespoke, deep, transformational work. No, it's not a quick fix, but it is a complete recalibration. We use the 8-stage wholehearted technique, the same framework that we've been exploring in this series, to help you move from survival patterns that have got you to where you are now to your wholeness. From self-abandonment to choosing yourself, from performance to authenticity. There's weekly sessions. I provide bespoke resources that are specifically created for you. That's workbooks, journal prompts. You have access to your own private client portal. And this is a journey that is totally tailored to exactly where you are and where you're going. This is for those driven, goal-setting people, the visionary, the leaders, the healers, creatives, and change makers who are ready to stop abandoning themselves and to start living from wholeness. If that's you, I'd love to talk. You can find all the details in the description of this podcast episode. Of course, this is a journey you can walk on your own. You will have walked this journey in different ways before, but you don't have to. You get to be supported by someone who has not only walked this path, but has built the framework that provides the guide for you to walk it too. So next up on the podcast for next week, we are going to really delve into what does living authentically really mean. We're going to explore what it means to drop the performance and show up as you really are, and why vulnerability is the gateway to real connection. Because once you've chosen yourself, the next step is showing up as yourself, right? Fully, authentically, without the mask. Until then, stand in your truth, honor your vision, choose your wholeness. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are brave. You are not reckless for trusting your internal pull. You are aligned. You are not wrong for seeing something others don't see yet. You are a visionary. And the world needs your wholeness more than it needs your performance. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for having the courage to stand here on the edge and know that I am standing here with you. I see you. I am holding the vision with you. And just know that when you choose yourself, when you honor that internal pull, when you trust your vision, it's always worth it. What is best for you is best for everyone else. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.